In 2025, 10 Caribbean countries might get visa-free entry into the US. Sounds crazy? It's real, and the last country on this list will shock you. Let's dive in. 1. Barbados. Barbados is more than a beach paradise. It's one of the Caribbean's most stable democracies, with a well-educated population and strong legal systems. But what really matters to the US? It's what Barbados doesn't do. It doesn't cause political problems, it doesn't produce refugees, and it doesn't spread anti-American ideas. In fact, American retirees and investors are choosing Barbados more than ever. For the US, Barbados is a low-risk partner. Their relationship is calm, cooperative, and consistent. That's exactly the kind of nation the US wants on its visa-free list. 2. St. Kitts and Nevis. Now, here's where things get interesting. St. Kitts and Nevis is a beautiful two-island country. Peaceful beaches, welcoming people, and vibrant culture. But its biggest claim to fame? A citizenship by investment program. That's right, if you've got enough money, you can buy citizenship here. That includes billionaires, former politicians, and even foreign elites. A St. Kitts passport can be purchased for a few $100,000. Now imagine this. A person from another country, maybe with a shady background, buys a St. Kitts passport. Then, under a visa-free deal, they walk straight into the US. See the problem? Critics argue this could open the door to risky travelers. But supporters say the program brings money and jobs into the country. Either way, it's a major reason St. Kitts is in the spotlight. 3. Antigua and Barbuda. Antigua and Barbuda runs a similar investment program, but they play their cards differently. They've become much closer to the United States through smart diplomacy. They've hosted joint security meetings, helped fight drug trafficking, and pushed for closer ties with Washington. And behind the scenes, laws like the CBP Preclearance Expansion Act and regional intelligence agreements are setting the stage for deeper cooperation. In simple terms, the US is offering visa-free deals to countries that allow American customs officers to operate inside their airports. That's a big ask, but it also means safer, faster travel. Antigua is saying yes, and that puts them ahead of others in line. Still, it's not all good news. Some Americans see this as a loophole. They worry about foreign investors using these islands to sneak into the US without proper checks. Expect tough debates in Congress when this becomes public. 4. The Bahamas. You probably know the Bahamas for tourism, beaches, and cruise ships. But did you know it's actually one of the closest nations to the United States? Flights from Nassau to Miami, for example, take less than an hour. Bahamians already visit America regularly for shopping, medical care, and business. Their overstay rate is low, and there are strong cultural links between the two nations. But there's also a darker history. For years, the Bahamas had a reputation for offshore banking and money laundering. That's changed a lot, but the memory still exists. Now, the United States sees an opportunity to offer visa-free travel to strengthen ties and compete with growing Chinese influence in the region. Sounds easy, right? Not quite. Some Americans will still push back, saying it opens the door to tax evasion and illegal finance. Others see it as smart strategy. 5. St. Lucia. This is the real wild card. St. Lucia is not too big, not too small, but they're making big moves. They've passed strict anti-corruption laws, joined hands with United States education programs, and cleaned up their legal systems. On paper, they look like a model partner. But that raises a tough question: why them? If St. Lucia gets visa-free access, people in other Caribbean countries might feel left out. And they'll ask, what makes St. Lucia more deserving? It's not just jealousy, it's about fairness. Some Caribbean nations have supported United States policies for decades but still face strict visa rules. Meanwhile, a tiny island with fewer resources could leap ahead. Expect this to blow up on social media when the news breaks. 6. Grenada. Grenada is playing a quiet but powerful game. They're not jumping into every alliance. They're staying neutral, focusing on peacekeeping, education, and steady diplomacy. That neutrality makes them attractive to Washington. They've supported United States votes in the United Nations and have reduced partnerships with countries like China and Russia. Plus, they have a good track record with international law enforcement. That adds up to trust. Still, there's a problem. Grenada also has a citizenship by investment program. That opens the same door to criticism as St. Kitts. If Grenada joins the visa-free club, expect strong reactions, especially from groups in the United States who worry about border control. 7. Trinidad and Tobago. Now things get serious. Trinidad and Tobago isn't just another Caribbean country, it's honestly an economic powerhouse, rich in oil, gas, and trade. It plays a key role in regional energy supply, and well, the US definitely knows that. Letting Trinidadians enter the US without visas would be a massive shift. The country has had issues with crime, gangs, and the drug trade. Expect that to be the main talking point on the news. But here's another side of the story. Trinidadians have a strong presence in the US already. Doctors, engineers, professors, they've built lives and contributed heavily to American society. So the question becomes, do you judge a country by its challenges or by the good its people are doing abroad? This could become one of the most emotional parts of the visa-free debate. 8. Dominica. Dominica is all about nature and diplomacy. This island nation is a leader in climate action. They've built green policies and joined major international environmental projects. For the US, this matters more than you might think. Supporting a climate-focused ally helps show America is serious about the environment. Dominica also has a clean record of sharing law enforcement data with the US, including working closely with Interpol. But yes, they also have a citizenship by investment plan. So, again, the concern returns. Can someone buy access to the US through a small island passport? That's the real issue here, not Dominica itself, but the broader question of how immigration security works. 9. Jamaica. This could change everything. Jamaica has deep roots in American culture. Music, sports, food, you name it. Millions of Jamaicans and Jamaican Americans already live in the United States. From the outside, visa-free travel seems like a natural step. But honestly, there are complications. Jamaica has one of the highest overstay rates among Caribbean visitors. That means, well, a lot of people enter the US legally, then stay longer than they should. And then there's the fear of crime. Whether it's fair or not, Jamaica often gets painted with a negative image in the media. If the US suddenly drops visa requirements, you can expect huge arguments on both sides. But there's just no denying it. Jamaica's inclusion would be one of the most dramatic changes in US immigration history. 10. St. Vincent and the Grenadines. This country might be small, but, it's got powerful friends. St. Vincent supports US positions at the United Nations, is a member of the International Criminal Court, and has a strong record of transparency. The US sees them as reliable and easy to work with. Plus, they haven't had the same controversy as other Caribbean nations with citizenship sales. Still, the controversy here will be about comparison. Why St. Vincent and not Haiti? Why not Guyana or the Dominican Republic? Why do some countries seem to get special treatment while others are left behind? It all comes back to strategy. So, what's making this even possible? Two big legislative moves: the Western Hemisphere Stability and Access Act, the Caribbean Engagement Strategy. These bills don't exactly scream headlines, but inside, they contain new language that quietly opens the door for Caribbean nations to join the US visa waiver program. Why? Because the United States wants to deepen relationships with its neighbors. It needs allies close to home to help with security, trade, and influence, especially with China and Russia stepping into the region. Visa-free access is a gift, but honestly it's also a deal. The US wants something in return: cooperation, loyalty, and influence. So here's the big question: why are countries from halfway around the world getting visa waivers, while nations right on America's doorstep are still jumping through hoops? The Caribbean is changing, and the United States is changing with it. Whether you think it's a smart move or a risky one, you can't deny, this will shake up immigration, diplomacy, and travel forever. So what do you think? Should these countries be welcomed without visas? Or should the US be more cautious? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because what happens in the Caribbean won't stay in the Caribbean much longer.